I'm here today with Dave Wilson, the owner and founder of Green Frog Systems. Dave started the business 15 years ago as of recently, and Dave is very much still active in the business and on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, a lot has changed during that time, but 15 years on, obviously a lot has changed and developed, and Green Frog has gone from strength to strength. So it's a good starting point for our channel in terms of the anniversary of Green Frog, and to get Dave's take on where it all started. Dave, you started from very humble beginnings, effectively with no resources. But from my perspective, I'm always fascinated about how you started and why you started. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, it really started Green Frog without any prior experience in the field. I think whole another podcast on how it all really, like the details of how it all happened, but I got into doing, we first started doing a lot of rooftop solar back about 15 years ago. And quite quickly we sort of started to do much bigger systems or much more complex systems than anybody else in the market. And then I started to get into a bit of lighting as well. And this was about the time when LED lighting was just starting to kick off. So we had two emerging technologies. We had the adoption of solar, and then right at the same time, we had the adoption of LED. So, and with that, there's a lot of confusion in the industry. And, I've been really lucky enough in my career to have a very broad career. Started off as an apprentice electrician, did a lot of study, a lot of electronic sort of engineering, management, and had some great careers as product manager for some military companies. And so I learned a lot. And so I think one of the things where we started was we started doing rooftop solar, and then I could start to see some opportunities. Started designing our own LED products. Then I remember seeing a tender come out for solar powered street lighting, and I thought, well, combining it all together, seemed to work pretty well, and really developed our first product. I went and installed it, and it was in remote South Australia. So designed the product, went and installed it, and then came back and thought, I've got to make this thing easier, quicker to install. And that's really the very humble beginnings of Green Frog.
I was about to say, so with that first product that you designed, obviously you had some design features that you wanted to build in, but since then, how does that develop? And, who was the customer in mind that you had?
I think one of the things I realized early, I think it came from a lot of the rooftop solar work I did, was most of the technology was around grid tied. So where the solar was connected to the electricity grid via inverters. And at the time, there wasn't really anything standalone. So the ability to generate its own electricity, store its own electricity, and then put it to a load, in this case, a light. And I could see a real opportunity, especially when I did this first lot of installs, these communities needed lighting for safety reasons. And would they have gone with a solar option if there was grid power available? They probably wouldn't have, but they had no choice. And I guess I saw an opportunity because there wasn't a lot of players in this space. And because it's very emerging technology, I guess in the early days, I was able to pick best of breed components, and over the years, develop our own products as well and our own components that do that particular job better.
Yeah, okay. So obviously 15 years ago, started off with a single product, single customer, not really knowing how it was going to go, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the reality of most small businesses at the grassroots.
Yeah.
But I mean, did you have back then an aspiration for where you wanted to take the company, or was it way too early?
It's really great question. I think I've probably always had that entrepreneurial style, and you kind of, when I started the company, I started it thinking I was going to dominate the world, but I didn't really know how I was going to do it. And coming off that first customer, which was a good order, and it was a difficult order, learning a lot, and then expecting the floodgates to open and everybody to buy my product. And look, to be honest, in the reality, it didn't happen. Because this is very emerging technology, a lot of people we're just going to sit back and wait and just see if your stuff actually does what it's meant to do. Luckily for us, it did. And so here we are still 15 years later.
Yeah, okay. So from the design back then, I mean, let's talk about technology for a minute and some of the design aspects, the engineering. Obviously, you just outlined there's a remote community who needed the products. I mean, from that point, what were the guiding principles that you tried to use to make sure that the product worked as intended and also that it was easy to install?
Yeah, I think going back, one thing made me think about this question a lot was back when I did a lot of my trade-related work and even my engineering, electronic engineering, 15, 20, 30 years ago, the word solar never even came up. It was just too niche. So we never learnt about it. So when I went and did all my solar theory and then had to do even more when I was designing products, it was like I could see that this technology was fast coming and it just has a lot of advantages. So I think what we wanted to do was focus our technology on solar. And pretty much worldwide, we're one of the only companies that just focus on solar lighting. And I think from a technology perspective, it's important that we just focus on that because that's what we're really good at. We've got 15 years of trials and tribulations, getting stuff wrong as much as we got it right. And I think that's the exciting part about what we do. And I think not just in Australia, but over the years, we've learned that a good solar system can work anywhere in the world.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So obviously you've touched on a couple of things there, those things that go right and those things that go wrong. Obviously we'll get to the stuff that goes right in a minute, but I mean, were there a couple of moments that things had gone wrong and you just were like, we need to change the way we do things or this isn't working, and it's kind of then re-steered the way you look at the business and our products?
Yeah.
Can you think of a couple of defining moments?
I think as people may not know, but we do a lot of our R&D work here in Adelaide, also our Texas facility as well. There's been over the years some stuff that's gone wrong. Most of it's probably been supply chain related, right? Components. When you think about it, we've been pushing the envelopes of the tech for a long time. Solar, emerging technology, it's relatively stable now.
Yeah.
Batteries, still emerging technology. LED, emerging technology. So when you have this combination of, I like to call, bleeding edge and cutting edge technologies, sometimes your supply chain lets you down, and those quality control elements, to be honest, even from some of the biggest suppliers in the world. So I think over the years we've learned, and this is where we're going as a company, is controlling our own products or manufacturing our own products to our own quality standards. And from that perspective, and then also little things like paint protections, we've got it wrong over the years, and it took us a long time to figure out how to get products to survive on the beach. Yeah, it's certainly challenging. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, because I mean we do have some products in very remote places, right, and some very exposed places. Yeah, whether it's here or in the Pacific Islands or Florida, for example, some of the harshest environments in the world. Obviously, there'd be a lot of testing of the products in those environments, in all elements. And the tech is obviously very important because it has a direct impact on where it's being used. I mean, was there a solidifying moment for you that realised that what your tech was able to do in terms of delivering an outcome to people?
A funny story with that one. I remember we'd had our UK distributor over Macrospire to Australia, and we'd taken them down to what was one of our first customers, Victor Harbour, and this sort of tree-lined T-junction intersection in the middle of nowhere. So we'd taken them down there and shown them the lights, and these are big, powerful lights. And then afterwards we'd gone to the pub. And so gone to the pub, and this woman comes up to me and she's, were you just at this in particular intersection? And I was like, yeah. And she says, are you the people that put the lights in? And then I was like, yeah. And she comes up, gives me a hug and goes, she says, your light saved my daughter's life when she was learning to drive. She was coming out of the driveway, waiting to turn right, this really dangerous intersection. And then at night time, someone had come around the corner without any lights on. And because we had lights lighting the intersection, she was able to see the top of the car, the roof of the car.
Yeah, wow.
And didn't drive out into the path of this speeding car. And she said that over the years since the lights have been in, they haven't had any major incidents or fatalities on the corner. And then you kind of go, okay. And then it makes you kind of double down on making sure you've got a reliable product, because it's more important that the lights are working. And when you have such variables, we can't control the weather, so we can't control the amount of sunlight. So I think at that point, I realized we have to engineer for so many variables. And I think that really reflects in the whole company and all the staff in the company really thinking about what's the end goal. And the end goal for us is really about safer environments when you think about it.
Yeah, because you are, obviously that's what we do focus on, with making environments safer, whether it's on roads, pathways, remote areas, all those places. And typically, from what we've seen, is the people who want lights installed are installed because there's been an incident. It's not usually proactive. That's all right, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
If there was more proactivity, there'd be less incidents, but obviously it's a chicken egg situation.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about Australia. Can you tell me a little bit about the US and some of the impact that we're having there, perhaps in the remote communities as well?
Yes. I think part of the reason we set up in the US was we realized that they face the same issues. There's a lot of regional roads, in the urban sprawl, people looking to get back out in the community. So setting up in the US, they're facing the same challenges. I think one of the things about the US was, I think because Australia, we are well educated in solar, and we have been for years, whereas the solar adoption in the US up until recently wasn't really there. So 7-8 years ago, we not only were explaining solar, we have to do a lot more convincing.
Yeah.
But the outcomes are the same, and it's been amazing to see the US business grow substantially in so many communities, and native tribes in the US is also something we're particularly passionate about.
They unfortunately do face some serious issues, and you know as well as I do, wherever we have gone and had our lights installed, which obviously get community members come up to us thanking us for it and outlining the impact that it's had on their quality of life, effectively, where kids can come out of play after 6 o'clock when it goes dark in winter, whereas before they weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
Which is actually really nice, I think.
Yeah.
I know you think the same thing, but also preventing crime is another big one.
I think when you come down to the grassroots of why we've been successful, when I go back 12, 13 years ago and I see the work we did on the Australian native, the Aboriginal communities, was that we were a source of reliability. We'd put our lights through the community, and half the time their electricity isn't reliable on these communities, which is a whole nother story. But one thing that was reliable was the lighting. So our lights were a gathering point. And that same US operation has the same issues in the Native American tribes as well. Some of these communities are so remote, power is unreliable. We have 100% uptime on our lights, and that's more than the electricity network. So it does become a source of dependability for the communities as well, which is great.
It's amazing. I remember you telling me that stat a couple of years ago, and I didn't quite believe it. I went to go research it myself, and you're actually quite right. The electricity grid is down more often than our lights are in particular places, which is fascinating, to be honest.
Yeah.
That technology's come so far. So obviously Gen 1 tech, right? To go back to technology, to where we are today. Where do you see it going in the next few years?
Yeah, good question. I think probably about 4 or 5 years ago, started to realize that the tens of thousands of products we have across the world, what we are essentially, we're an energy company. We generate our own energy and store our own energy. And most of our products are the energy's going into a light fixture to produce light. These days, if we're an energy company, then I think the future for us is powering other devices.
Okay.
Partnering with companies, whether it's a camera or environmental sensors or a combination of all of the above. I think that's what excites me about the future.
Yeah. Okay.
So building a reliable standalone power source, really, that is independent of the grid. It's more reliable than the grid if it's done properly and able to do so many more things. And all of the technology and all the R&D that we're working on now is about building that platform.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've talked a little about the technology, and we could talk all day about it. Let's face it. Or we could talk about our case studies all day, and we don't want to cover any of that today. But in terms of the business itself, over 15 years, you must have had, moments where you just sat back and go on, pinch yourself. Is this real? Is there one moment or a couple of moments that stick out to you that are your proudest?
A couple of things. I remember all this happened within a month. I'd take some time off and I'd gone down to Tasmania, climbed Cradle Mountain, and then driven around some of the remote parts of Tasmania. And I remember one night I'd gone for a walk. Supposed to be a run, but ended up being a walk. And I remember seeing this lake, and then I remember looking at the light, and it's probably 400 or 500 meters away. And then when you design lights for a living, you kind of know your own lights, which is a bit weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, that looks like one of my lights just from the lighting profile, the color. And I go up there and I could see it's one of our products. And I was like, I'm in this remote part of Tasmania. And I was like, that's cool. It's on a little jetty. Then a month later, I was in London, and just after the King's inauguration, and I remember looking up and seeing one of our Defender lights in central London. And I was like, damn, that was quite a proud moment when to extreme ends of the earth, you see products. And I think that's very humbling and very exciting at the same time.
So 15 years ago, did you think you would be here today having those moments?
To be honest, yeah.
Okay.
I think, it's like I said, I had a dream. I may not have had a plan.
Yeah.
So I think from day one, when I designed the first product, I was already thinking, how far could this go? And, the dream was to have a global business. And, it's pretty exciting. It's there. You wish it was bigger and better, but everybody always does, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually a pretty cool moment when you can go around the world and generally you'll see your products around the place in all different environments, and that's pretty cool. And then also seeing the company grow, and I think it's that reliability. Companies come and go in our field, competitors come and go, but I'm just actually really proud we've kind of stuck to what we're good at, and it's been fantastic to see that grow organically.
So you touched on something a moment ago, dreaming. You dreamt 15 years ago.
Yeah.
What's your dream now for the business?
I think my dream now is to see us as an energy generator, like these little micro or nano grids that can power lots of different things.
Yeah.
It can be put anywhere in the world, like, for example, on a beach for tsunami warnings, just mobile or even portable or even permanent solutions that can bolt on a whole array of technology. And I think that's what we're really good at. And the data we've collected over 15 years, how to build a product, how to build it to survive, has us playing with some large technology partners that just need it to work. And I think that's the future for us. Still doing what we do. I'm really quite passionate about having millions of little energy storage nodes, I guess, around the world doing different things. That excites me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, over 15 years, you've built a great business. Obviously the next 15 years is going to be a fun ride.
Oh yeah.
However it turns out.
Yeah.
And obviously from very humble beginnings to where we are now is quite different. I'm sure the next 15 years is going to be quite different again. Thank you for your time and for your insight.
No, it's been fantastic.
Green Frog is still here and going from strength to strength. Look forward to seeing where we take it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate.
All right.